What if you're all alone at work, and something not human, reaches out from the shadows? That's exactly what happened to Daniel, a night shift worker at a quiet rural hotel. One terrifying night where the front desk bell kept ringing, even when no one was there. Stay with me because what he saw next will send chills down your spine. It was a quiet night, the kind of night where even the crickets seemed to whisper instead of chirp. Daniel's shift at the Pine Hollow Inn had been uneventful for hours. The old rural hotel sat miles away from the nearest town, surrounded by dense woods and open fields where headlights never wandered. The building itself was almost as old as the legends that clung to the surrounding forests, creaky floorboards, peeling wallpaper, and a front desk that had seen better days. Daniel had always liked the solitude. He liked that there wasn't much noise, that the guests were polite and few. It gave him time to think, time to listen to the silence that most people found unnerving. He brewed a fresh pot of coffee, adjusted the thermostat, and glanced at the empty parking lot through the grimy front window. The glow from the desk lamp stretched into the darkness, and beyond that was only night. Around midnight, Daniel sat back in his creaky chair, scrolling through his phone. He half dozed off, lulled by the gentle hum of the refrigerator and the distant howl of a coyote. But then, the sharp, metallic ding of the front desk bell sliced through the stillness. Daniel shot upright. He froze. The bell sat on the desk beside him. No guests. No footsteps. He rubbed his eyes and stood. He even checked the guest register. The last check-in was hours ago. No one had arrived. He laughed nervously. Must have been a draft. But just as he settled back into his chair, it happened again. Ding. This time louder. The sound echoed in the empty lobby, bouncing off the walls like a warning. Daniel's heart started to race. He stood and peered toward the desk. His eyes scanned the space. Nothing. The hallway leading to the rooms was dark. The glass front doors were locked tight, or so it seemed from where he sat. He took a deep breath and walked toward the desk. His boots creaked on the wooden floor as he neared it. "Hello?" he called softly, his voice trembling slightly. No response. He reached for the bell. Just then he saw it. A pale hand. It shot up from beneath the desk like a drowning person surfacing for air. The fingers were long, claw-like, and knotted with dirt. The nails were jagged, some broken, some discolored. The wrist was thin, veins twisted like cords. The skin looked wrong, almost gray as if drained of life. The hand slammed the bell. Ding. Daniel's stomach turned to ice. He stumbled backward, his mouth dry. His eyes widened in horror, his breath catching in his throat. He turned to run but nearly tripped over the wastebasket before slamming the back office door shut. He fumbled for the lock, his hands shaking. 911. Help. Please. Daniel shouted into his phone, his voice cracking. 911, what's your emergency? There's someone under the front desk, he stammered. The operator's voice remained calm. Sir, are you safe right now? I locked myself in the office. Daniel panted. The front desk bell keeps ringing and there's a hand. His voice broke. He clutched the phone tighter as his eyes darted toward the small office window overlooking the lobby. Stay inside. Officers are on their way, the operator instructed. Daniel pressed his back against the wall, his eyes glued to the tiny window. His ears strained to catch every sound, the ticking of the clock, the faint buzz of the heater, and silence. Minutes dragged by like hours. Then, after what felt like an eternity, he heard headlights in the gravel parking lot and the crunch of tires stopping abruptly. The front door's bell did not ring again. Daniel hesitated before opening the door. Daniel? A stern voice called from the hallway. It's Officer Reynolds. Are you okay? Daniel exhaled shakily and unlocked the door. Two uniformed officers entered cautiously, guns holstered but ready. I think someone was under the desk, Daniel whispered, eyes darting toward the front desk. The taller officer bent to look beneath it. His eyes widened in disbelief. There's nothing here, he muttered. Daniel's mouth dropped open. What do you mean nothing? He croaked. The officer's gaze moved to the front entrance. The glass door stood slightly ajar. The second officer approached, peering through the gap. His eyes fell to a large rock wedged between the door and the frame. "This thing's been prying it open," he said. "Someone forced this wide enough to slip through." Daniel's legs nearly buckled. He gripped the wall for support. "Where is he?" Daniel whispered, his voice hollow. The officer's face remained blank. "He's gone." Daniel looked back toward the desk. His eyes flicked to the bell, now eerily silent. "Do you think it?" Daniel started. The officer sighed deeply. "Sometimes people like to scare us. Or worse." But as Daniel stared at the empty space under the desk, a cold breeze seemed to seep through the crack by the door. The hairs on his arms stood on end. He wanted to believe it was just someone trying to break in. But deep down his gut churned with fear. Something about that hand, the way it reached out, desperate, wrong, didn't belong to any ordinary intruder. The officers radioed for backup and began a thorough search. They swept the grounds, checked the rooms and even the crawlspace beneath the building, but found no sign of an intruder. Daniel sat on the lobby couch, staring blankly at the floor, sipping coffee he could barely swallow. His hands trembled as he traced the rim of his paper cup. Later, after the police left and the hotel manager arrived at dawn, Daniel was offered time off. His eyes were red, sleep-starved and haunted. He kept replaying the image of the hand. Was it a trespasser trying to break in and failing? Was it something darker? Weeks later, Daniel quit Pine Hollow Inn. He never worked a night shift again. But some nights he swears he hears the bell. Daniel never found out what that hand was, and the police never found the intruder. But some say it was more than a man trying to break in. Maybe it was something that shouldn't exist. So next time you hear a bell, or footsteps in the dark, ask yourself, are you really alone? If this story gave you chills, hit that like button, share it with someone brave enough to watch, and subscribe for more real, terrifying experiences.